All right, this video is for my investors that are considering either a new build condo or a resale condo. But before I get into that, do me a favor. Let Jazzy know what you think about this video either by commenting below, or if you really like it, share it with a friend. There's probably a little paper airplane thingy around here. Press that and you can share it to with a friend. I'm gonna go over for new build and resale, the ROI, return on your investment, the difference in costs for both, the difference in financing, as well as what does it take when you're finding tenants either for a new build or a resale. Let's get started with ROI. Well, what does that mean? First of all, it's the return on your investment. So it's slightly different with both of them. Let's talk about a resale first, because that's quite simple. If you're an investor, you're going to be putting down 20%. That's the requirement from the lenders here in Canada. You're going to put down 20% of the purchase price. Let's use a round number of $500,000. 20% of $500,000 is $100,000. As a resale property, you're going to need to close on it anywhere from about, say, 30 to 90 days. Let's take the average of 60 days, 2 months. What does that mean to you? Well, as an investor, you're going to have to come up with that $100,000 within 60 days. The rest of it, the $400,000, is going to come via a mortgage from a lender. Now, the return is based on that $100,000 that you're putting down. The nice thing with the resale, and keep in mind, guys, new build is not better than resale or vice versa. It depends on your portfolio. And so that's what I'm hoping to help you dissect so you can make an informed quality decision yourself. The ROI is going to take into consideration the fact that you're closing on it within 60 days. Okay, so you're going to get principal recapture, mortgage pay down the day that you close on it, because the tenant is going to be paying your mortgage and your costs down. You're also going to be able to take advantage of passive appreciation, the market value, the price of the property going up right away. You're also going to be able to take advantage of, in a resale condo, cash flow, the rental income, the difference between the rental income and how much you're paying in terms of mortgage payment, property tax, insurance, and condo fees. So that's the return on your investment on resale. On a new build, works slightly a little different. Why? Because, see, you're going to put your down payment of 20% over, say, 3 years. It generally takes about 3 years from the day that you buy the condo to when it gets built. You're going to be putting that 20% in installments. So the return on your investment works slightly different. There is no cash flow because the building's not built, so you can't rent it out yet. There is no mortgage pay down. The building's not built, so there's no mortgage being paid down. So then, Jazz, where does the return come from? Well, see, if you put down in the first 12 months, if you put down 10% of the purchase price, same example as we did in the resale for here on the new build, $500,000 condo, you're going to be putting down a total of $100,000, but on a new build, the 10% works out to be how much? $50,000. If the value increased on paper, based on if the builder was forcing the appreciation, increasing the pricing of the units and passive appreciation on this new build by, let's just say, 5%. You put down 10% in the first year, the value's appreciated by 5%, that's a 50% return on your investment. So don't get it twisted, for a lack of a better word, that there is no ROI on a new build. I just explained it. I hope you understood it. I'm going to go over the cost, the financing, and the finding of the tenants, but I hope you understood how ROI works both for the new builds as well as the resales. So I want to talk about the difference in costs as well as financing and finding tenants when it comes to either a new build condo or a resale condo. Let's talk about costs, and keep in mind, guys, that there's upfront costs when you're closing on both of these, but then there's also ongoing monthly costs, which is actually a good thing because they're the same for both. And let me explain. And before I get into it, if you haven't yet left me a comment, what's going on? Let Jazzy know if you agree with what I'm saying, you don't agree, and if it's valuable, do me a favor, share the video. So in terms of upfront costs for a new build condo? Well, the nice thing is that, see, because you're buying something that's going to be built out for 3 years down the road, the only upfront cost you have for a condo is your installments for your down payment. As an investor, you're going to be putting down 20% of the purchase price. So as I've been using as an example, $500,000 is the purchase price. You're going to be putting down $100,000, which is 20%, but that's going to be paid out in installments. Now, when it comes to closing this condo as an investor 3 years down the road, I want you to be aware of a few things. I want you to be aware of the development charges. The city that you're buying this condo in is being charged development charges by the city. So if you're buying in Toronto, the city of Toronto is charging the developer, which obviously gets passed on to you as the purchaser. But you need to know what this is gonna be, and so you can budget for it. If you're in the process right now looking at a new build condo, make sure you get those development charges capped. That's done through an amendment. Just talk to the person that you're dealing with, or the builder's representative, or just shoot us an email, leave me a comment. I'll make sure that I'll walk you through that. You also want to make sure that you understand that with new build condos, there's always an extra 1% of the purchase price. So if it's $500,000, I always tell people to budget about $5,000, 1% of the purchase price, for water line hookups, hydro line hookups. There might be park levies. That's over and above those development charges. You also want to be prepared for, when you're closing on a new build condo, HST. As an investor, you're going to pay upwards of about $24,000. Now, keep in mind, this is in Ontario. Make sure to check your province's laws, as well as or your state laws around HST, PST, GST, whatever T equal taxes, whatever state that you're in. So when it comes to Ontario, you're going to pay upwards of $24,000 on closing. As long as you're renting this condo out, you will get the rebate that the government offers, which is of approximately 99.8%. So you'll get back about $23,800 and change. There's always some admin fees that the CRA is going to charge. So far on a new build, you have capped development charges. You have 1% of water line hookups, hydro line hookups, park levies. You have HST, and then you have other closing costs, which you're going to have in both examples. But I want you to also budget an additional approximate 1% for land transfer tax, legal fees. Depending on if you're buying in the city of Toronto, you might have to pay a double land transfer tax. We do have a welcome to Ontario tax. So that's your costs on a new build. On a resale condo, it's slightly less than when you're comparing to a new build. Why? Because the HST that I was speaking about on the new build side, that only has to be paid once. So someone already paid it. You're buying a condo that's already on the market, so it's already been paid for, that HST. Development charges had to be paid once, already done by the original purchaser. But you still have closing costs. You have lawyers' fees. You have closing adjustments. We got to see if the the seller of the condo did they prepay the taxes already? Did they pay for the maintenance fees? When are you closing? Like, what day of the month are you closing? That's going to determine your closing adjustments. You will, no matter what, have to pay land transfer tax. Once again, doesn't matter wherever you're buying in the province. Even if you're a first-time home buyer, there is a rebate, but you have to make sure that you budget yourself for that. Let's move on to financing. On a new build, the nice thing is you don't have to worry about financing, because you're buying today for something that's going to be built 3-4 years down the road. There is a formality, though, that you'll have to get a pre-approval letter. Now, I call it a formality because it's really needed for the builder, so that they can show their lender and that the person who's purchasing this condo is qualified, so the builder can get their construction financing. But it's a formality. You have to get a pre-approval letter. I know it's a little odd. It doesn't almost even make sense. Like, how do I get pre-approved for something that I'm going to be buying 3 years down the road? It's a process. We can always help you with it. Just check in with us, leave me a comment, and I'll make sure I can fully turnkey that whole process for you. When you're looking at a resale though now, financing, you need to always make sure you get a pre-approval letter, in my opinion, even before you start shopping. Like, without a pre-approval, how do you know what budget you should be looking into, right? Sometimes you might be looking into, obviously, too high of a budget, but what about on the flip side? Like, what if you're looking at too low of a budget? You're allowing some of the condos on the market to get out of, you're not even seeing some of these condos because you don't think you're going to be able to afford it. So it's very important that you start the process with a pre-approval. Now, the financing, the mortgage is going to be needed within that 60 to 90 day period, because on average, that's when we see condos closing on the resale market side. So as always, make sure, leave me a comment, let me know if you agree or disagree. Finding tenants on the new builds, it's nice. You don't have to look for tenants for the next 3 years, 4 years when the building gets built. Now, how do you forecast what the rent's going to be as an investor? Because that's important. You're buying a condo today. You want to make sure that you kind of have an idea on what the rents are going to be for this when this building gets built. The easiest way to do that is take the last 5 years of possible increases in rent that you've seen in the area that you're buying this condo. If you're buying in downtown Toronto, if you noticed that in the last 5 years, on average, rents have gone up by 8%, then I think it's safe to say for the next 3 years, you can forecast year over year, ultra conservatively, that the rents will go up by 4%. See what I did there? Last 5 years, on average, 8% year over year. For me to forecast what the rent's going to be in 3 years from now, I took today's rent and increased it by 4% only. Not the 8%, because when money's coming in to me, I always want to budget lower. When money's going out, I want to budget higher, this way that there's no surprises. On the resale side, as an investor, be prepared, because now you need to start renting out this condo for closing within that 60 to 90 day period, so that the whole process gets sped up. Again, not to say one is better than the other. I personally have both in my portfolio. The thousands upon thousands of clients that I've helped have both in their portfolio. You need to decide, are you looking for a very passive investment? Well, then I would suggest going with a new build. It's not much to do. You're going to write some checks. It's kind of like watching paint dry, maybe even a little bit more boring than that, because there's nothing to really do. Or do you want something a little bit more active? Do you need cash flow right now? Do you want principal pay down right now? Do you also have the 20% available to you right now? Because remember, you're going to need that up front. Leave me a comment. Let me know, what did you think about this video? And always do me a favor, share it with a friend.